particular, the Clark County Registrar went with a machine called the Agilis machine. And at least 200,000 votes were counted through the signature verification process of this machine only. I will repeat for the media, no human beings looked at those signature matches to confirm they were in fact matches. Now we have artificial intelligence and computer photographic forensic experts that are absolutely positive that the fact that Joe Gloria, which was admitted in court, reduced the factory setting to 40%, that in order for that system to properly work would take months and months of testing with a large amount of experts, and that simply was not done. 200,000 of the votes went through this computer system that we cannot be sure verified these votes properly. Now, as we said, we were going to present evidence of major voter irregularities and voter fraud, and we've been pouring those out over the last 24 hours. I'm going to turn it over to Matt Schlapp to go into particulars.
Thank you, Adam. Someone even brought their dog. It's important. That dog might have voted. You're right. It's important for people to know that what happened in Vegas, the entire world needs to understand. In this point, in this election cycle, it is critical that the vast majority of Americans have confidence in the result of this election. We have seen political division like we haven't seen in a number of years. The way we resolve division, even when you don't get your way in an election, is to count every legal ballot and to make sure that we count every legal ballot and make sure that illegal ballots do not reduce the civil rights and the votes of those who voted legally. Since we put this group together to scrutinize the information that we've been able to learn while being cut out of the observation process and the tallying that's going on in Clark County, we now have thousands of examples of voter irregularity. That takes several forms. I've been involved in politics a long time. I was shocked to learn from our hotline, from the conversations we've been having, from things sent to the website, that hundreds of Republicans were disenfranchised, were denied the right to vote, both on election day and leading up in the early vote. They were put through a process that proved impossible to satisfy in order to cast their legal vote. We will be finding and investigating and going through all of these examples, of which I said there are hundreds. Dead people voted in Clark County.
Probably thousands. No respect.
That is a tricky thing because obviously for these families, this is a very tragic reminder of a loss that they have just recently had to go through. We have two examples that we have talked about and want to talk about today. One is the death of Rosemary Hartle in 2017. The other is the death of Fred Stokes Jr. in 2017. Wow. Miraculously, they both voted. Wow. Which means that the voter file that was used to send out these mail-in ballots was not deduped by death records. We know that underage voters voted in this most recent election. How difficult would it have been to make it clear that nobody would have been mailed a ballot if they had a birth date after a certain year. We know that in this area, which has been gripped with the idea of an economic shutdown, that over 100,000 people left. Yet, through our due diligence, we've been able to find that at least 9,000 of them voted in this election. Non-Nevadans voting in Nevada. How hard would it have been to simply go through the available databases to dedupe all those who had moved away from the voter files before these ballots were mailed?
Oh, they don't do that. I still got my...
We have, over the last couple days, had many brave people call us who have witnessed tampering, who have witnessed wrongdoing. These are brave whistleblowers. These folks worked in the counting center, were involved in the tallying, and Fox News recently reported that one of these whistleblowers had to quit, and I'm going to just use the male pronoun, had to quit his job after he worked on about 14,000 ballots. When he would raise objections to clearly improper ballots, he was told by his supervisor to put them through the process and count them anyway. This whistleblower believes that there were other such employees who were also uncomfortable with the fact that when they could see clearly objectionable ballots, they were still forced to put them in the tally. These ballots can never be taken back out of that tally. These ballots, there's no way to remedy ballots that were put in an improper way. A second whistleblower we have not talked about before described leaving on, and I'm going to use the male pronoun again, leaving on his lunch hour. And while he was on his lunch hour, he decided to exercise around the counting center. While he was walking, he noticed a van pulled up at the center marked Biden-Harris. The doors of the van were open, ballots were clearly visible, ballots were opened with letter openers, and ballots were filled in and resealed in envelopes. These people who were involved in this activity then decided to create a human shield around what they were doing in the van. It's important for you to understand that as we are coming and making public, it's important for you to understand that as we are making this information public, we are on the outside looking in. I've never experienced an election where the idea of observing the count was considered out of bounds.
Right.
But yet I think it is clear that with the evidence we're presenting, that if we had more information and this was a more regularized and legal process, we would be able to tell you even more. As I said, dead people voted in Nevada. One of those people who voted was Rosemarie Hartle, God rest her soul. We have a friend of the family, Marianne Rambola, who would like to talk to us now.